Okay, so now let's talk with the coverage for the third exam. So now let's go to the Bureau of Fire Protection. So remember, Bureau of Fire Protection is one of the law enforcement agency. Okay. So the Bureau of Fire Protection is immediately under the supervisions, administration, and control of the DILG by the virtue of Republic Act number 6975. And this is one of the tribunals of the DILG. Okay. So remember, the DILG has three bureaus or tri-bureaus. First is we have the Philippine National Police, which is under the umbrella of the National Police Commission. The Bureau of Fire Protections, as well as the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, is under the umbrella of the DILG. So both BFP and BGMP are under the supervision, administration, and control of the DILG. So while the PNP is immediately under the NAPOLCOM. So what are the compositions of the BFP? The Bureau of Fire Protection, hereinafter referred to as a Fire Bureau, is thereby created initially consisting of officers and uniformed members of the fire service of the Integrated National Police as constituted under Presidential Decree number 765. Now remember, the Bureau of Fire as well as the BGMP or the Jail Services is under the INP by the virtue of PD Presidential Decree number 421, unifications of the police, fire, and jail services under the Presidential Decree number 765 and the PD 421. So what are the powers and functions of the BFP? The Fire Bureau shall be responsible for the preventions and suppressions of all destructive fires on buildings, houses, and other structures, forests, land transportations, vehicles, and equipment, ships or vessels docked at piers or wharves or anchored in a major seaports. So ano ba itong anchored at itong dock? So, kasi maglibog mo, kung sila yung dock at piers anchored in major seaports, kita mo ng barko nga nasa laod dito sa tunga-tunga sa pantalan. Wala kita na ito nga, naka-anchorage na siya diya. Meaning, dili siya pwedeng mo dock sa atong seaports kay dako kay siya, tapos international vessels po siya. Nga, tagdugay po na muhawat at binulan. So, muna dito na sila naka-anchorage. Okay? Kaya magbayad, mana sila o inuras po sa atong pantalan. So, muna nga dito na sila para gamay lang ilang bayaran. Muna ito na naka-anchorage. Okay. Petroleum industry installations, plane crashes, and other similar accidents, as well as the enforcement of the fire code and other related laws. The Fire Bureau shall have the power to investigate all causes of fires and, if necessary, file the proper complaint with the city or provincial prosecutors who has jurisdictions over the case. So what are the organizations of the Fire Bureau? The Fire Bureau shall be headed by a chief, who shall be assisted by a deputy chief. It shall be composed of provincial officers, district officers, and city or municipal fire stations. At the provincial level, there shall be an office of the provincial fire marshal, which shall implement all the policies and plans as well as programs of this department, and monitor, evaluate, and coordinate the operations and activities of the fire services operating units at the city and the municipal levels. In the case of large provinces, district officers may be established to be headed by a district fire marshal para di sa Davao kay city man ta, no, chartered city man sa mo lang natay district fire district. Ang atong fire district nakalocate sa Magsaysay, pati ang atong regional fire district nagtapad ra sila bung ray nagka-diferensya na sa opisina sa regional director o sa district fire marshal nato sa atong syudad. Now, there shall be a station instead by a city or municipal fire marshal. So, kung sa municipal puta o sa city. Provided that in the case, so, say na ba tayo city? Yes, tatay city ka nang kitang natog Davao Central Fire Station man na itong city. Type mo na ito ang district fire office, no? A district office with subordinates fire station headed by a district fire marshal may be organized as necessary. Okay, the fire chief shall recommend to the secretary of the organizational structure and staffing pattern, as well as the disciplinary machinery for officers and men of the bureau, in accordance with the guidelines as set forth herein as provided in Section 85 of this Act. So ano itong nire-refer na of this Act? Yung RA 6975. The local government units at the city and municipal level shall be responsible for the fire protection in various emergency services, such as rescue and evacuations of injured people at fire-related incidents. In general, all fire prevention and sufficient measures to secure the safety of life and property of all citizenry. Establishment of fire station, take note, based on the National Fire Protections Agency, the standard time of response during the fire incidents, the standard fire response is only 5 minutes under the NFPA standard set. But since the conditions of the roads as well as the streets and the areas to be responded by the Bureau of Fire is something question. So may problema tayo dyan. Kaya yung sinasabi ng 5 minutes ng NFPA rules ay hindi pwedeng ma-apply dito sa ating lugar dahil nga maliit ang kalsada, maraming nakahambalang sa daan. So kaya ang response time nila talagang 7 minutes. 7 minutes talagang umaabot yan sila, no? Sa totoo lang. So 7 minutes, basta magtawag lang agad. Now, ang sabi rin ng NFPA, within the time frame of response time, pag hindi pag-abot ang fire station, ang Bureau of Firefighting personnel dyan, within the time frame, kailangan lagyan na yan siya ng fire station. No? Dito yan, ito lang, 7 minutes. Tapos hindi makaabot ng 7 minutes or sabi natin 10 or 15 minutes bago makarating ang bumbero. So dapat meron ng fire station dyan. So anong ginagawa ngayon ng ating Bureau of Fire under the RA 9514? Ang sinabi ng RA 9514 at saka yung bagong batas ng BAP, it is the duty and responsibility of the fire chief to encourage all the barangays to create a barangay brigade. So yun, batas yun, no? Dahil sa nangyari mga sakuna, nagkaroon na tayo ng tinatawag na risk reductions, yung crisis management and risk reduction management, which enforce the law na ang bawat barangay dapat meron na siyang barangay fire brigade. So medyo hindi na nahirapan nating kabumbiruan. So hindi naman lahat na nabigyan ng biyaya ng Diyos, no? So yung ibang barangay, meron silang barangay brigade pero wala naman silang fire truck. So yun lang ang problema. Okay. So anyway, wala nang problema kasi meron ng barangay fire brigade. Now, the local government units at the city municipal level shall be responsible for the fire protections and various agencies. So maswerte tayo dito sa Davao kasi meron tayong 911. Such as rescue and evacuation of injured people at fire-related incidents. And in general, all fire prevention and suppress measures to secure the safety of life and property of the citizenry. So, bumalik lang pala ako dito, no? Sinsya na. Now, in every provincial capital, city, or municipal, subject to the standard rules and regulations as may be promulgated by the department, the local government shall, however, provide the necessary and or a site of the stations. So, kagaya dito sa, kunyari, sa Matina, meron tayong SIR fire substations. No? Meron na tayong SIR substations, meron pa tayong tinatawag na barangay fire brigade, no? So meron tayong tinatawag dito na fire station sa SIR. Ang tawag naman natin dyan sa in charge ng fire station ng SIR is siya yung tatawag natin na unit commander. Okay? So, fire unit commander. So, siyang unit commander ng fire station na nasa SIR. Now, what are the qualification standard? The qualification standard of the member of the Fire Bureau shall be prescribed by the department. So, ang department na nire-refer dito is ang DILG based on the requirement of the services. Now, let's go to the rank and classification. For the purposes of efficient administration, supervision, and control, the rank classification of the members of the Fire Bureau shall be as follows. Director, which is the overall head of the BFP, Chief Superintendent, which is the deputies, then Senior Superintendent, Superintendent, Chief Inspector. So you have the same rank of the PNP. Now, but as of this day, the VP, they have now allows, no? When in fact, it is already approved on the second reading that the present rank of the BNP shall be changed and adopt the rank classifications of the present PNP status. So, kung yung director nila, magiging ano yan siya, Director General. Yung Chief Superintendent nila, magiging General yan or Brigadier General. Yung Senior Superintendent, magiging Colonel na rin yan. So, sa ngayon, wala pa. Hindi pa, second reading pa lang yung batas. Approve na siya. So, hintayin na lang yung final and last reading, no? The last and final reading of the said bill. No? That is sponsored by Subiri. Okay? Now, let's go to the key positions. The head of the Fire Bureau with the rank of director shall have the position title of the Chief of the Fire Bureau, and he shall be assisted by the Deputy Chief with the rank of Chief Superintendent. So, the same pa rin yung structure nila sa PNP. The assistant head of the Department Regional Office with the rank of Senior Superintendent. So, ano to Senior Superintendent? So, it is a full-fledged colonel. Shall assume the position title of Assistant Regional Director for Fire Protection. Yun talaga ang title ng Regional Director dito. Yung tatawag na Assistant Regional Director. Kaya lang, Regional Director ang tawag natin kasi nandito siya sa region. As provided in Section 11 of the RA 6975, the head of the NCR District Office with the rank of Senior Superintendent shall have the position title of District Fire Marshal. The head of the provincial officers with the rank of Superintendent shall be known as Provincial Fire Marshal. The head of the district officers with the rank of Chief Inspector shall have the position title of District Fire Marshal. And the head of the municipal or city station with the rank of Senior Inspector shall be known as a Chief of Municipal Fire Station. Like for instance, sa Davao del Sur, meron man silang tatawag doon na Provincial District Fire Office. So, ang rango nung kanila doon is Major. No? So, Major. Yung sa yung District Fire Marshal sa probinsya. Okay, so bago ko makalimutan, kasi na-discuss na rin natin yung response time ng BFP. So, kailangan malaman natin yung ratio ng fire truck to firefighting personnel. Ibig sabihin, ilang tao ba dapat sa fire truck? Now, the standard ratios of every fire truck is 7 firefighting personnel per fire truck. So, sino yung 7 na yan? Ina, driver. Okay? Next is yung tinatawag natin na yung pumping officer. No? So, yan. Then, nozzleman, assistant nozzleman, hooseman, ladderman, and the team leader. Okay, balikan natin. Driver, pumperman, o yung pumper operator, okay, nozzleman, assistant nozzleman, driver, ladderman, investigator. Okay? So sila yung 7 na yan. Okay. So again, the ratio of fire truck is 1 fire truck and then there will be 7 firefighting personnel who will man the said fire truck. Okay. So naintindihan natin, ha? Una, driver, pamperman, nusulman, assistant nusulman, then husman, no? Yung lineman, yung tatawag na husman or lineman, then ladderman, and then investigator. Okay, so yan, or team leader, yan. Now, the Philippine Public Safety College creations of the Philippine Public Safety College. So lahat ng training schools, either military, BFP, or whatever pa yan, under yan sa ng Philippine Public Safety College. Now, there is hereby created the Philippine Public Safety College. Now, Philippine Public Safety College is an institution that is constitutional because that is created by a presidential decree, not an ordinary law. No, hindi tinayo dahil lang sa utos ni ganito-ganito o dahil kailangan. Pero may batas talagang nagtalaga dyan kung bakit itinayo ang Philippine Public Safety College. Okay. Which shall be the premier educational institutions for the training, human resource development, and continuing education of all personnel of the PNP, Fire and Jail Bureaus. Said college shall be under the direct supervision of the Board of Trustees, composed of the Secretary and the 3 bureaus. So what are the 3 bureaus? The BGMP, PNP, and the Bureau of Fires. Now, what are the composition and powers and function of the Philippine Public Safety College? The college shall consist of the present Philippine National Police Academy, established pursuant to Section 13 of Presidential Decree number 1184, the Fire Service Training Center, the Philippine National Training Center, the National Police College, and other special training centers has been created by the department, whose functions shall be as follows. Formulate and implement training programs for personnel of the department. Establish and maintain adequate physical training facilities. Develop and implement research and development to support educational training programs. Conduct an assessment for the training needs of all clientele, and performs as other related functions as may be prescribed by the Secretary. So who are the Secretary that referring to? The Secretary of the DILG. Now let's go to the Republic Act number 9263 on March 10, 2004. This is the laws, no, the Reorganization and Professional Reorganization Act of the BGMP and the BFE. An act providing for the professionalization of the Bureau of Fire Protections and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, amending certain provisions of Republic Act number 6975, providing funds thereof and for other purposes. Under the Section 2 of this law, declaration of policies and principle, it is declared policy of the state to maintain peace and order, to protect life, liberty, and property, and promote the general welfare essential for the enjoyment by all the people of the blessings of democracy under the Article 2, Section 5 of the Philippine Constitution. Moreover, it recognizes the responsibility of the state to strengthen government capability with aim towards the ensuring delivery of basic services to the citizenry, though the exercisation of a highly efficient and competent and jail services. Moreover, under the Section 3 of the Republic Act number 8551, otherwise known as the Philippine National Police Reform and Reorganization Act of 1998, that provides that in times of national emergency, the BFP and the BGMP, along with the Philippine National Police, shall upon the direction of the President, assess the armed forces of the Philippines in meeting of the national emergency, in addition to the performance of their inherent functions as mandated by law. Just like what happened now in our 2019 COVID pandemic. It is therefore recognized that the uniformed personnel of the BFP as member of the uniformed service of the government under the Department of the Interior and local governments are required to the same amount of sacrifice, service, and dedications like their counterparts in the PNP as well as in the AFP to carry out their respective duties to the extent of risking their lives and limbs. Towards this end, the state shall provide for the professionalization and restructuring of the BAP by upgrading level of qualifications of the uniformed personnel and standardizing the base pay, retirement, and other benefits, making it at par with those of the PNP and AAP. So meaning, when the RA 9263 was totally implemented, the base pay of the BFP together with the BGMPs are now also increased. At present, they have the same basic salary with the PNP. So yun ang kaganda ng Professionalization and Reorganization Act of BFP and BGMP. So patas na ngayon ang sweldo. Hindi kagaya noon na mataas ang PNP kumpara sa jail at saka sa BGMP. Okay. Now let's go to the organization and key positions of the BAP. The BAP shall be respectively headed by the chief, who shall be assisted by the two deputy chief, and one for administration and one for operations, which is similar to the PNP. Then all of whom shall be appointed by the president upon the recommendation of the secretary of the DLG. This is only the difference. The one will recommend to become the chief of the bureau is no other than the secretary of the DLG. Okay? In the PNP, there is what we call is the recommending authority. The regional director, then the PNP chief, then the next is the endorsement of the Civil Service Commission chairman, who would become the PNP director, deputy director general. Okay. Among the qualified officer with at least the rank of senior superintendent. So ito lang yung initial rank requirement to qualify for the position of the BAP chief. The BAP officer must have an initial rank of senior superintendent, in which is equivalent to full-fledged colonel. Provided that in no case shall any officer who has retired is retireable within 6 months from his or her compulsory retirement age be appointed as the chief of the 5 bureau. As the case may be provided further that the chief of the 5 bureau shall serve a term of duty not exceeding 4 years. So we have the same tenure of service, no, sa BFP, okay, as a PNP rather. But in the times of war, the concurrent BFP chief shall remain on his positions until the so-called calamity or war will be lifted, no? So only the BFP chief lang ang pwedeng ma-extend, except for the deputies. If they are retired through mandatory, then they will be separated to the service, no? Except for the chief. The head of the BFP with the rank of director shall have the position title of the chief of the fire bureau. So take note, the rank of the head of the BFP shall have a rank of director. And his title position is the chief of the fire bureau. Okay? The second in command is the deputy chief for administrations, and the third in command is the deputy chief for operations. And the fourth in command is the deputy chief for director staff of the fire bureau. Okay. Now, the fourth officers called the rank of chief superintendent shall have the respective position, title chief of director and staff of the fire bureau, shall be assisted by directors of the directorates in the respective national headquarters, office with at least the rank of senior superintendent. Pag sinabi ting senior superintendent, that is a full-fledged colonel, no? Ang chief superintendent pala, balikan lang natin, that is general, no? I stand for corrections. The head of the BFP with the rank of director shall have the position title chief, the fire, the second officers in command of the BFP. Tapos na tayo dito, okay? The BFP shall establish and maintain the respective regional offices in each of the administrative regions of the country, which shall be respectively headed by regional director for fire protections with the rank of senior superintendent. He or she shall be respectively assisted by the following officers with the rank of superintendent. Kasi nga, full-fledged colonel lang ang regional director. So kanya, ang deputy niya, kailangan medyo mababa sa kanya ng ranggo. So that is referring to lieutenant colonel, which is assistant regional director for administrations Assistant Director for Operations, and Regional Chief for Directoral Staff. Now let's go through the professionalization and upgrading of qualification standard in the appointment of uniformed personnel to the BFP. No person shall be appointed as uniformed personnel of the BFP and the BGMP unless it possesses the following qualifications. So that is the same with the PNP, no? So parehas pa rin, no? Parehas pa rin yung qualifications ng aplikante. Now remember, so with regards to the height requirements, the both BFP and BGMP also adopted the waiver program, no, the AWE. Okay, they have the same age requirement, the height requirement. Okay. Now, after the lapse of the time of prayer for the satisfaction of a specific requirement, current uniformed personnel of the PB will fail to satisfy any of the requirements enumerated under the section shall be separated from the service if they are below 50 years of age and serve a government of less than 20 years, or retired if they are age 50 or above and have served in the government for at least 20 years without prejudice in the case to the payment of benefits, they may be entitled to under existing law. So para malaman na natin, yung dito sa here, yung tinatawag natin na kailangan they are considered as eligible. Kasi nung una, nung hindi pa nag-9263, kahit na Polcom, no, yung 6975 pa lang, kung mag-apply ka ng BFP, kahit na Polcom passer ka kasi ano pa siya, hindi pa nagkaroon talaga ng total ang BFP, pwede pang Napolcom passer. Pero ngayon, yung mga Napolcom passer na nakapasok sa BGMP at sa BP, kailangan kukuha sila ng Fire Officer 1 or Jail Officer 1 entrance examinations, in which the Civil Service Commission is the authorized agency to administer that kind of entrance examinations for BFP and BGMP. So, yan, no? Appointment of uniformed personnel to the BEP, the appointment of the BEP shall be effected to the following manners. Fire Officer 1 to Senior Fire Officer 4 shall be appointed by the respective regional director for fire protections for the regional office. Uniformed personnel or by respective chief of the 5-year for the national headquarters. So, kung sa regional ay, the same pa rin sa PNP, regional director ang mag-appoint for the national level, so the BEP chief, no? Or his authorized representative. And the same, all the appointment of the BAP as well as the BGMP must be attested by the Civil Service Commissions. Now, for the fire inspector to fire superintendent, appointed by the respective chief of the fire bureau, as recommended by the immediate superiors and attested by the Civil Service Commissions. So, yung mga nagranggo ng fire inspector hanggang fire superintendent, the appointing authority is vested to the chief of the fire bureau, no? Then, with the recommendation of their immediate superior, pinsa man yung immediate superior ko sila, ang ilahang regional director or provincial director. Okay. Now, for the rank of fire chief superintendent to fire director, appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the DILG with the proper endorsement by the Chairman of the Civil Service Commission. Kung sa PNP ni siya, ang mag-recommend is ang National Police Commission. Pero ang mag-endorse sa pangalan, dito sa Civil Service Commission, ang Napolcom. No? Pero sa BPO-BGMP lahi, the DILG will be properly endorsed the qualified police officer to be promoted to the rank of fire chief superintendent to fire director, and then the chairman of the Civil Service Commissions will be the one to endorse to the office of the president. Okay. Now, lateral entry of officers into the BFP. So, pag nakapasok ka dito through lateral, so you will be given an initial rank of fire inspector or jail inspector. In general, all original appointment of officers in the Fire Bureau and Jail Bureau shall commence the rank of Fire Jail Inspector wherein applicants for lateral entry into the BEP shall include all those with highly specialized and technical qualifications, such as but not limited to civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers, chemists, architects, criminology, CPA, nurses, so on and so forth. Pero ang priority na is itong mga engineer, chemist, at saka itong physical therapist, no? At saka dentist. Ito yung mga ano nila. Social workers, no? Ano din nila yan, no? Psychologists, teachers, nurses. Now, for the doctor of medicine, as well as the member of the bars, once they enter into the BFP or BGMP and then they pass the lateral entry, so they will be given an initial rank of fire senior inspector or jail senior inspector. Now let's go to the professionalization and upgrading of qualification standards in the designation of uniformed personnel for the BFP key positions. No person shall be designated the following key position of the BFP unless he or she has met the qualifications as provided in this law. For the municipal fire marshal should have the rank of senior inspector who have finished at least second year Bachelor of Laws or earned at least 12 units in a master's degree program in any field of discipline in the masteral program. Now take note, kung hindi ka nakapag-aral ng 2 taon sa pagkabugasya, kailangan mo lang kumuha ng 12 units sa any masteral program discipline to qualify for the position of municipal fire marshal, plus you must have an initial rank of senior inspector. Kailangan kapitan ka para mahimo kang municipal fire marshal. And then you must obtain at least 12 units in any masteral courses or any field of discipline in the masteral courses. So kung hindi ka naman nagkapag-aral ng mga pero nakatapos ka ng 2 taon sa abogasya, so qualify ka. Now for the city fire marshal should have the rank of chief or senior inspector, no? I think this is chief, ano siya? Chief inspector. Okay? I think this is chief inspector, no? So I stand for correction. Who must have been at the second year Bachelors of Laws or earn at least 24 units in master's degree program. Yung sa city, yung sa municipal, 12 units lang, pero sa city, 24 units, no? The same pa rin yung sa Bachelor of Laws. So, kahit na anong discipline sa masteral, balikan natin sa municipal, senior inspector, sa city fire marshal, chief inspector, no? So that is major. And then 24 units. Sa municipal, 12 units. Okay. District fire marshal, provincial fire marshal, assistant regional director for administrations, assistant regional director for operations, and regional chief of director staff should have a rank of superintendent. So, for the position of district fire marshal, provincial fire marshal, assistant regional director for administrations, for operation, and regional chief for director staff must have an initial rank of superintendent or lieutenant colonel and must be a graduate of bachelors of laws or holders of master's degree. So para mag-qualify ka para may mong district fire marshal, kailangan mong ranggo lieutenant colonel, no? And then regional director, assistant regional director for operations, for administration, director of staff. And then aside from that initial rank, you must be a full-fledged Bachelor of Laws degree holder. So kung dili ka na graduate of Bachelor of Laws, so kinanglan full-fledged master's degree ka in any field of discipline. As well as you must pass that satisfactory training career courses katong ito na tuog, career executive supervisory examination katong CSE or CEE. So lahi po na siya para mag-qualify ka dapat aside ani mong educational qualification as well as the rank, dapat nakapasa po ka og katong career executive supervisory examination or CESE. Okay. District Fire Marshal for the National Capital Region. So, diri sa District Fire Marshal, provincial man eh. Kaning number 4, District Fire Marshal for the National Capital Region sa NCR. So, Regional Director for Fire Protection and Director of Directorate of District Quarters Office should have at least the rank of Senior Superintendent. Sa District Fire Marshal sa NCR, o kaning ato mga Regional Director, as well as Director of Director of District Quarters, kailangan ilang ranggo is Senior Superintendent, and the same, they must be a graduate of Bachelor's of Law or a full-fledged Master's degree. At the same time, they have also passed the career courses, kaya yung sinabi natin kanina. Now, Deputy Chief for Administration of the Fire Bureau, Deputy Chief for Operation of the Fire Bureau, and Chief Director Staff of the Fire Bureau should have the rank of Superintendent, and who must be a member of the Philippine Bar or holders of Master degree. For the Deputy Chief for Administration, it is now yung assistant ito ng DAP Chief. Kailangan, merang ko silang, I think this is Chief Superintendent. And then, they must be a member of the bar. Ano itong member of the bar? Kailangan abogado. Or, they must be a master's degree in public administration, so on and so forth. At the same time, they must also pass the career courses examination. Okay. Any uniform person of the BP is currently occupies as position but lacks of the qualification as mentioned, therein shall be given 3 years upon the effectivity of this act. Puntahe, qualified siya sa iyang ranggo, qualified po siya sa additional qualifications, pero wala pa siya katong career courses eligibility, katong itong CSE. So, he is only given 3 years. So, within 3 years, kailangan makapasa na siya atong other qualifications of career service examination, katong CSEE or CEE. So, yan. So, katong, ang ginatumbukan ni katong nag-occupy sa position nga kuhan siya, district director or blah blah blah. So, kailangan makapasa na siya og CSE within a time frame of 3 years. Now, the DILG shall design and establish professionalization and qualification upgrading program for uniform personnel of the BEP as well as in the BGMP coordination with the CEC and the Commissions on Higher Education. So, muna ning naitabo karon katong pag-professionalization sa BEP BGMP katong 9263, katong mga second year level sa BEP o sa BGMP nga nakasulod. So, they are also given what we call is a number of years to finish their baccalaureate degree. No? Nasa gitawag na itong reglementary period within a time frame of 5 years. So katong po mga nakasulog, napulkom lang ang ilang eligibility, kailangan makuha sila o katong fire officers or jail officers examination. So yun, yung dito sa iba pa yung daily design or sa SC and higher educations. Okay? So now let's go to the BAP organizational principles. So ano ba principles na? Kagaya din ba kayo sa PNP? So tingnan natin, no? Unity of command, you have the same, no? Pag sinabi ito unity of command, is the principle that a person can report to only one and only one supervisor. Kung saan siya nakatalaga, kung saan siya na-assign, doon siya magre-report, doon siya magkukuha ng order. Yun namang district director, kailangan mag-report siya doon sa yung provincial director, so kailangan mag-report din siya sa saan? Sa regional director. Kasi under man siya ng regional director. So lahat na na-assign sa provincial, so lahat ng chief sa municipal fire marshal ng provincial, so they need to get orders and give report to the provincial director. So that is the meaning of unity of command. Then the chief of command, that is the respective pathway of authority from upper echelon to the lower echelon. So that is the doctrine of Escalar. So the chain of command is the pathway of responsibility from the highest level of the corporate office down to the lowest position. Span of control, that is the supervising of a limited numbers of personnel assigned in their respective area of responsibility. Division of labors, Stopping pattern nito sa PNP, it is putting a right person into a right positions so that everybody have what we call this, yung tinatawag natin na job descriptions. Okay? So, kung nusulman ka, nusulman ka. Kung lineman ka, lineman ka. Kung driver ka, driver ka. Dili ka pwede mahimong nusulman kung driver ka. Then discipline, no, is applied to organization has been understood to mean as well as organized, adequate, structured, and uniform operations. Organization responsibility to provide directions needed to justify and to meet the goals and the objectives of the organization. Now let's go to the promotional system, the uniform personnel of the BFP. So 6 months after the activity of the act, the DILG shall establish a system of promotions. So, ibig sabihin ang DILG ang magbigay ng system promotion. Sa PNP naman ang NAPOLCOM, base din sa civil service principles. Now, rationalized promotion, the system of promotion shall be based on merits, on the availability of vacant ranks in the BFP staffing pattern. Kaya medyo matagal ang promotion sa BFP, no? Kasi kailangan babakante pa yung ibang position. Such system shall be gender first as to ensure that women personnel of the PAR Bureau and the jail bureau shall enjoy equal opportunity for promotions as to, yung tatawag natin na equal treatment. No? Okay, for the requirements for the promotions, any person of the BP shall not eligible for promotions to a higher rank unless he or she has met the minimum qualifications as a standard or the appropriate civil service eligibility as set by the CSC and has the satisfactory pass the required psychiatric, psychological, and drug and physical tests. So, this is the same with the requirement for promotions in the PNP. Any personnel of the BP who has exhibited act of confessed courage and gallantry at the risk of their life above and beyond the call of duty or selected as such in a nationwide search conducted by accredited civic organization shall be promoted to the next higher rank. So para malaman natin, sir, ano yung accredited civic organization? Tulad ng you are awarded as one of the 10 outstanding young men in the civic organizations or a 10 outstanding professionals in the organizations. So you are qualified to be promoted to the next higher rank, no? As provided that this shall be validated by the DILG and the Civil Service Commission based on the criteria. Yung sa DILG naman, yun yung tinatawag natin yung ano, yung act of valor, no? So yun siya, yung confess courage and gallantry, no? Kahit alam mo nang hindi pwedeng ano, sinunong pa rin yung apoy, tapos talagang naapula mo yung malaking sunog. You are sacrificing your life and limbs in order to save and protect the lives and property of the community that you are serving. Okay. Performance evaluation. Now remember, the performance evaluations of both BGMP and BFP, they have twice, no? They have twice performance evaluation, that is by every 6 months. The first evaluations may be on the first month of the year, then the second evaluations will be for the 7th month of the year, so January and July. Okay, so again, the performance evaluation system of both BEP and BHMP shall be conducted twice a year. Okay, there shall be established a performance evaluation system which shall be administered with accordance with the rules and regulations and standard and a code of conduct of the uniformed personnel of the BAP to be promulgated by the Fire Bureau and the Jail Bureau through the DILG. Such performance evaluation system shall be administered in such a way as to foster the improvement of the individual efficiency and behavioral discipline, as well as the promotion of organizational effectiveness on commitment to service. Now, take note. So, every member of the BAP or the BGMP must have a good result or very satisfactory result in the performance evaluation, because this is part of the requirement in the promotional system. When in fact, this is also one of the requirements yung tatawag nila na parang incentive sa kanila, no? Every year na matatanggap nila. Okay? And then this is also a business that once you fail the performance evaluations for 2 consecutive evaluation made, so you will be demoted or you will be reassigned into far-flung areas. So parang ito yung part din ng the disciplinary actions ng BFP, no? The rating system as contemplated herein shall be based on the standard prescribed by the Fire Bureau and the Jail Bureau. Through the DLG shall be considered the result of the annual psychiatric and psychological examination. Meron din silang PE, no? Attrition system for uniform personnel of the BFP. I think this is similar to the PNP, no? There shall be established a system of attrition for the uniform personnel of the BFP within 1 year for the effectivity of this act be submitted to the Jail Bureau to the DILG for order approval. Such attrition systems shall include but not limited to the provisions of the following principles. Attrition by demotion in positions or rank. Ano ito? Let you say, you were appointed as the chief of a certain Fire Bureau. But your rank is higher than your positions. So meaning, your rank did not compensate your present position. That is demotion by positions. Ang isa naman, you have a lowest rank, pero yung position mo malaki. So dito muna tayo sa attrition by demotion, position or rank. Yung rango mo mataas, pero yung position mo maliit. Okay? Now, any uniform person of the BP is relieved and assigned to a position lower than that is established for his or her grade. Ang sinabi ng grade natin, rango. In the respective staffing part of the Fire Bureau, who shall not be assigned to a position commensurate to his or her grade, shall be given 2 years after such demotion in position, shall be separated or retired from the service. So, na-demote siya, wala sa position. No, nasa position, pero gamay ang iyang rango, o taas ang iyang rango. So, grade siya. So, within 2 years, dapat matagaan sa position nga mag-commensurate or mag-compensate sa iyang present rank. No? Kinahanglan, mag-level niyang rango sa iyang position. Iyang position, mag-level po sa iyang rango. Muna ang pasabot aning attrition by demotions in positions or rank. Attrition by non-promotions. Ito naman sa PNP and the BFP, they have the same. If a fire officers or the jail officers did not promoted for over 10 years, so he will be subject for attrition systems. Or if he already served in the service in the organization for 20 years, so he can avail for the early retirement program, no? So, pwede siya maka-apply for early retirement. Now, the retirement benefits of the PNP, if he served 20 years, so he is qualified to receive a 50%, no, 50% of his basic salary, no? So 50%, okay, 20 years, because a 1 year in active service, that is equivalent to 2.5% of retirement benefits. But this is 2.5% equivalent for every active service. It can only be available at the time or at the moment that you will retire to the services or to the organizations. Okay? So, ang matag tuig sa active na pagserbisyo sa Osaka Police, BFP o BGMP, equivalent na sa 2.5% sa imong retirement benefits. Pero ipabilang na siya kung mo-retire na ka. Kung natanggal ka sa serbisyo, you cannot avail that retirement benefits. Mabita kita kung retirement benefits, kaya pang-retired lang siya, no? Attrition by other means. So, ito yung sinasabi natin, pag bumagsak ka sa performance evaluations or mababa ang performance mo in other areas. So, yan, attrition by other means ito, yung poor performance ka talaga. Any uniform personnel of the BP with at least 5 years of accumulated active service shall be separated from the service based on the following factors. Inefficiency based on performance during the last 2 successive semestral ratings, sabi natin kanina. So, twice a year magkaroon ng performance evaluation. Inefficiency based on poor performance for 3 cumulative semester rating period. Then, physical and mental incapacity to perform. So, murag wala ka praminti sa imuhang panguna-una kung magtrabaho ka, no, na di na mo ma-perform ang imuhang basic responsibility. Then, failure to complete the required career courses, yung sabi natin kanina, or appropriate civil service eligibility for his position except for a justifiable reason. Separation or retirement from the Bureau under decision, any person dismissed from the BP pursuant to the above enumerated principles, and decision shall be separated. But if he or she has rendered less than 20 years of service and be retired, but if she has rendered at least 20 years of service, unless the concerned person is qualified by law to receive such benefits. So, kung nakatuntong sa 20 years, pwede siya mabil o early retirement program, no? And he will receive 50% from his present basic salary. Now, mandatory schooling for the requirements of the BEP for requirements and the promotions. So, ito yung mandatory schooling. Iba itong schooling nila kaysa PNP. Para officers advanced course. So, sinong pwedeng magkuha nito? Graduate of Para Officers Basic Course. So, kailangan naka-undergo ka muna ng FOBC. Fire Commission Officer with the rank of Senior Inspector to Chief Inspector. So, ano naman yung mandatory schooling nila? Fire Officer Basic Course. Graduate of OCC or BSPS, Fire Commission Officer with the rank of Inspector. Ano itong BSPS? Ang ano ito sa ito yung mga PMER, Bachelor of Science in Public Safety, no? Yan. So, bago ka makapagkuha ng mandatory schooling for para basic course, kailangan tapos ka muna ng Officers Candidate Course. Now, para Officers Candidate Course, sino ang mandatory na mag-ano nito? Yung Senior Fire Officer 4 para mag-qualify sila for the promotion of Inspector. For the Fire Protection Supervisory Course, Fire Officer 3. Okay. Now let's go to the Republic Act number 9592. So this is the law that amend the promotional systems of the BFP and the BGMP. Okay, sa PNP, yung ano naman na is RA 9708, no? An act extending for 5 years reglementary period for complying with the minimum educational qualification and appropriate eligibility in the Bureau of Fire Protections and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, amending for the purpose of certain provisions of Act number 9263, otherwise known as the Bureau of Fire Protections and Bureau of Jail Management and Penology Professionalization Act of 2004, and for other purposes. Any person of the BEP and the BGMP who has exhibited act of conspicuous courage and gallantry and the risk of her life and beyond the call of duty or selected as such in a nationwide search conducted by any accredited civic organization. Explain na natin ito. Now let's jump, no? Officer 1 to Senior Fire Officer 4, appointed by the respective Regional Director for Fire Bureau. Okay na yan, tapos na tayo dito, no? Hindi natin pag-usapan yan. Now, let's go to the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. So, tapos na tayo sa BFP. We are now on the BGMP. The BGMP, hereunder referred to as the Jail Management Bureau, is hereby created initially consisting of the existing officers and uniform members of the BGMP of the Integrated National Police as constituted under Presidential Decree number 765. So meaning, when the Republic Act 6975 was acted into law and the PD 765 was repealed by this law, so the member of the BGMP is coming from the member of the Integrated National Police. Okay? Yes, yan. So what is the mandate of the BGMP? The mandate of the BGMP is the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology was created on January 2, 1991, pursuant to Republic Act number 6975, replacing its forerunner, the jail management and penalty service of the defunct Philippine Constabulary and Integrated National Police. The BGMP exercises administrative and operational jurisdictions over all district, city, and municipal jails. It is the line bureau of the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Take note, the BGMP is a line bureau of the DILG. So what is the vision? The BGMP envisions itself as a self-dynamic institution, highly regarded for its sustained human safekeeping and development of inmates. So what is the mission? The Bureau aims to enhance public safety by providing human safekeeping and development of inmates in all district, city, and municipal jails. So what are the powers? The powers of the BGMP shall exercise supervision and control over all district, city, and municipal jail. As such, it shall ensure the establishment of secure, clean, adequately equipped sanitary facilities and ensure the provisions of quality services for the custody, safekeeping, rehabilitations, and development of BGMP Comprehensive Operation Manual, revised 2015. The Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, district, city, and municipal inmates or any fugitive from justice or person detained, awaiting or undergoing investigations or trial, and or transferred to the National Penitentiary, and or a violently mentally ill person who endangers him or herself or the safety of others as certified with the proper medical or health officers pending to transfer to a mental institutions. So buto sa katong mga preso nga drug dependent tapos nalisuan silang pangisip o nagkaroon ng nervous breakdown, and then based on the recommendation of their medical officers, so they will transfer the said person deprived of labor to the mental institutions. Okay, so what are the functions of the BGMP? In line with the missions, the Bureau endeavors to perform the following functions: enhance and upgrade organizational capability on a regular basis, thus making all BGMP personnel updated in all advancement and law enforcement, eventually resulting in a greater crime solutions, efficiency, and decrease of inmate populations. Now remember, the old-time problems of both corrections and BGMP is the budget. Budget talaga, no? Taken na yung overcrowding, no? Kasi kung may budget, pwede man lang palakihin ang kanilang prison institutions to accommodate prisoners and to give what we call these good conditions to the life of the person deprived of liberty inside the prison institution. Kaya lang, unti lang yung budget nila. To implement strong security measures of the control of inmates, to provide for the basic needs of inmates, to conduct activities for the rehabilitation and development of inmates, and to improve the jail facilities and conditions. So, ma-improve nila, pero kaya lang, hindi nga masyado yung based on the standard accommodations of prisoners as agreed in the Geneva Conventions for the treatment of offenders. No, hindi nga lang yun. Now, district jail in large cities or a group of clustered municipalities. Ano ibig sabihin ng clustered municipalities? Ang sample po natin dyan is ang Panabo, yung Davao del Norte, yung Panabo, no? Yung Davao ng may mga clustered municipalities yan sila. Then as well as itong Davao del Sur, no? May Bansalan, Macanao, so yan, Magsaysay, that is clustered municipalities. Okay, city and municipal jails. The BGMP operates and maintains cities and municipal jails. It's headed by a city or municipal warden as the case may be. So, yung sa clustered municipalities, wala na ngayong municipal jail. Kasi sa bagong ng BGMP, so kailangan isa na lang ang nila, yung tatawag nila siya na provincial district jail. So yun na yun, no? Pero pag malaking municipalities, tulad ng Mati, yan, Tagum, so yan. So city ang kanila, kasi city naman siya. What are the core values? The BGMP officers and staff are guided by the following core values. Commitment. So meron din silang commitment, no? A strong sense of dedication to the ideas of the organization and to the public that it serves. Respect for human rights. to promote and protect the rights of our fellow human beings, efficiency and competence. Then mastery of important skills for delivery of quality services, cooperations, willingness to share efforts in implementing plans and achieving goals, and the last is teamwork. No, kung sa UN pa na ihit, ang ato ihit is integrity, honesty, then innovations and teamwork, no? So yun, yung ano natin ang core values ng UN. Then, the combined effective actions of all personnel. So what are the objectives? The broad objectives of the Bureau are the following: to improve the living conditions of offenders in accordance with accepted standards set by United Nations, yan sabi ko kanina. To enhance the safekeeping, rehabilitation, and development of offenders in preparation for their eventual reintegration into the mainstream of society upon or after their release. To professionalize jail services. Then we have the principles. The following principles shall be observed in implementation of preceding sections: human treatment of inmates, observance of professionalism in the performance of duties, and multi-sectoral approach in the safekeeping and development of inmates can be strengthened through active partnership with other members of the criminal justice system and global advocates of corrections. Now, Jail Provincial Administrator's Office in every provinces, the BGMP operate and maintains a Provincial Jail Administrator's Office headed by Provincial Administrator to oversee the implementation of jail services of all district, city, and municipal jails within its territorial jurisdiction. Ang sinasabi ito, clustered city yan, ha? Yung maliliit na syudad. District jail within the large cities or a group of clustered municipalities, a district jail headed by district warden may be established. City municipal jail, the BGP operates and maintains city and municipal jails is headed by a city or municipal warden as the case may be. Now let's go to the qualification for key positions. The following are the minimum qualification for appointment or designation to key position in the Jail Bureau. Should have the rank of at least jail senior superintendent for the chief yan, no? Should be a member of the Philippine Bar of Order of Master's Degree in Management. Parehas pa rin, no? They should have satisfactorily completed the mandatory training or career courses for such position, including the Public Safety Officer Senior Executive course. So yan, no? Yung Public Safety Officers, PSOSE. PSEE ni sila, no? PSEE gapon ni sila. Pareha sa police patong Public Safety Officers, no? Should possess the required third level eligibility. For the regional director, kaganina, for the chief of the BGMP to, should have the rank at least jail senior superintendent, no? For the regional director, colonel, no? Should have graduate Bachelor of Laws or holder master's degree, management, public administration, so on and so forth, and the same, kailangan pasado siya ng third level eligibility and yung PSEE, no? Yung career services. For the jail provisional business, should have the rank at least jail superintendent, so lieutenant colonel should be a graduate Bachelor of Laws, parehas pa rin, and a master's degree, and should have completed the mandatory career course of such position, including Public Safety Officers Advanced course. So kailangan meron siyang OCC aside sa kanyang PSEE, and should have been assigned in supervisor position in the jail services. District jail should have the rank at least jail superintendent, parehas pa rin yung rango nila, and then OCC din, no? Public Safety Officer Seniors Executive Course, okay? POSEC, no? Or OSEC. For the city jail warden and wardress, should have the rank at least jail chief inspector, should be a college graduate, who must be at least second year Bachelor of Laws. For the city jail warden and wardress, so kung dili sila, kung hinanglan, sila 2 years course of Bachelor of Laws, kung wala, provided that he must have a 24 units of any master's degree program. Now, pero kung dako nga syudad, in the case of city jails with an inmate populations of 1,000 or more, the city jail warden should have the rank and qualification of a district jail warden. So, sa rank ko ito, balikan na ito. So, jail superintendent, no? Kung abot 1,000 population, ang piniriso sa city jail, so, ang maggunit ana is, kinanglan na iranggo nga, unsa? Jail superintendent. So, yan, no? In the case of city with an income of 1,000 or more, the city jail warden should have the rank and qualification of a district jail warden. So, basta mabuto 1,000 or more ang population na preso. Now, for the municipal jail warden or wardess, the same pa rin, the same with the city jail warden wardress, no? So, 2 years course and bachelor's of law, and 24 units and any master's degree. And so the satisfactory, the mandatory training of careers courses including the public safety officers basic course, no? PSOBC. Yan. So, ito na, pareha pa rin yan, no? So, parehas pa rin yung appointing authority sa BFP at sa BGMP. Now, mandatory schooling for the requirements of BGMP promotional system. Jail officers advanced course. So, sino ang mandatory na mag-undergo ng schooling dito? Jail senior inspector, this course is designed purposely for the senior ranking commission jail officers to enhance their knowledge, skills, and imbibe proper attitudes in performing their duties and responsibility for senior officers of the organization. Specifically, the program intends to enhance and enrich the students' trainees' competence and character to assume their level of position in the regional or national jail officers or any other designation appropriate for their rank, no? So, jail senior inspector, so captain ang mag-eskwela og jail officers advanced course or OAC. For the jail officers basic course, jail inspector, this course is purposely designed to provide jail inspector with the basic function and responsibility of an officers, particularly on jail management and administration. So, kung dahil executive master sergeant ka or jail master sergeant or jail SO4 ka or SGO4, no? So kung ma-promote ka pagka-inspector, dapat mo-undergo ka o GOBC. Jail Officers Orientation Course or GOOC. So this is intended for those non-uniform member of the BGMP who wants to join in the organic unit of the BGMP. Qualified civilian lateral entry, this course intended for the newly appointed commission officers through lateral entry with the rank of inspector and senior inspector to equip them with the basic knowledge on officership, jail management operations, and administration. For the jail officers candidate course, jail inspector, this course is designed substantially to equip the senior or non-officer members of the BGMP with the most intricate cognitive katulad mga SPO4, SPO3, no? For junior leadership course or SLC, this course is designed to equip the senior non-commissioned officer. Ito yung mga SPO2 ata, no? O SPO3. Then they have also the junior leadership jail officer to lang ang mag-eskwela ani. Okay? And the rest, katulad sa mga training. Now let's go to the National Bureau of Investigation. The Bureau of Investigations, later renamed the National Bureau of Investigation, came into existence on June 19, 1947. The date of Republic Act was approved, and history goes back to November 30, 1936, when Division of Investigation. So, dati ang pangalan ng National Bureau of Investigation, bago siya naging NBI noong June 19, 1947, ang una niyang pangalan is Division of Investigation, which is under the Department of Justice, and it was created by the Commonwealth Act number 181 by the First National Assembly. So meaning, ang National Bureau of Investigation, they can trace their originality is from the virtue of Commonwealth Act number 181 by the First National Assembly, and the first name of this organization is the Division of Investigation. So under the Section 1 of the Commonwealth Act number 181, it provides a division of investigation under the Department of Justice. Until now, they are under the Department of Justice. No? It shall be composed of such personnel as may be necessary in the discretion of the Secretary of Justice, and its duties shall be to help in the detection, prosecution of crimes, to acquire, collect, or classify and preserve criminal identification of records, and to obtain information of all matters affecting the public interest. Now take note, my dear students, the NBI is the investigative arm of the Department of Justice. Take note, the investigative arm of the Department of Justice is no other than the National Bureau of Investigation. Okay, so the DI was the brainchild of Commonwealth Act by President Manuel L. Quezon, and then the then Secretary of Justice Jose Yulo, a veteran American police officer, and Captain Thomas Dugan of the New York Police Department. And the only Filipino member of the United States Federal Bureau of Investigations is no other than Flaviano Guerrero, were hired by the Philippine government to organize the divisions of investigations of the Department of Justice. So again, you need to bear in mind that the former name of the National Bureau of Investigation is no other than the Division of Investigations. Now let's go to the organizations of the NBI. The National Bureau of Investigation is a line agency under the Department of Justice and serves as the premier investigative agency of the government. So take note, the NBI is the investigative arm of the Department of Justice. The agency director is a presidential appointee and serves under the trust and confidence of the President and the Secretary of Justice. Effective February 21, 2019, last year, when the implementations of RA 10867, so this is now the new Reorganization Act of the PNP. It is modernizing, the Bureau, and providing funds. Therefore, the following acts are in force. So, nung nagkaroon ng reorganizations and modernizing the National Bureau of Investigations, the rank of the NBI personnel was also amended. Now, let's go to these ranks. So, National Agent rank, Director, which is equivalent to Police General or Police Director General. Deputy Director, equivalent to Lieutenant General. Assistant Director, Major General, Regional Director, Brigadier General. Assistant Regional Director, Police Colonel. Head Agent, Police Lieutenant Colonel. Supervising Agent, equivalent to Police Major. Senior Agent, Police Captain. Investigation Agent 3, Police Lieutenant. Investigation Agent 2, Police Senior Master Sergeant. Investigation Agent 1, Police Master Sergeant. Special Investigator 5, Police Staff Sergeant. Special Investigator 4, Police Corporal. Special Investigator 2, which is the lowest rank of the NBI, which is equivalent to patrolman or patrolwoman in the PNP. Now let's go to the Republic Act number 10867, June 23, 2016. An act reorganizing and modernizing the National Bureau of Investigations. Kanina yung ranggo yun nagbago yung ranggo nila sa 2019. So pakita mo wala, itong 2019 nagkaroon ng amendment of the ranks of the NBI based on the Republic Act 10867 of June 23, 2016. Balikan na to, katong 2019, gi-amend ang karaan nga ranggo sa NBI. So nana siya equivalent dito sa PNP. Base sa Republic Act number 10867 katong June 23, 2016. Katong ilang ranggo nga nausab sa 2019. Okay. It is the policy of the state to promote and maintain an effective, modern, gender-responsive, competent, and highly trained investigative body, functionally integrated and national in scope. Toward this end, the state shall formulate plans and programs to enhance and modernize the National Bureau of Investigations with expanded structure, capability, and manpower responsive to the demands of the times. Reorganization, modernization, and expansion of the said Bureau. The NBI is hereby reorganized and modernized to adequately meet the increasing demands of an expanded investigative and detective work. It shall implement a modernization program which is geared towards the acquisition of the state-of-the-art investigative and intelligence equipment and the establishment of forensic and scientific laboratories. The program shall include provisions for the training of its personnel in this regard. The present organizational structure of the NBI shall be reorganized into the Office of the Director, Office of the Deputy Director for Administrations, Office of the Deputy Director for Operations, Offices of the Assistant Director for Investigation Service, Intelligence Service, Controller Service, Human Resource and Management Service, Forensic and Scientific Research Service, Legal Service, and Information and Communication Technology Service. Each service shall be composed of the necessary divisions and sections. The NBI shall establish a regional office in every region. So at present, we have 17 NBI regional offices. Now, each region shall be headed by regional director, and every district office shall be headed by district directors. In every province to be headed by head agent. Okay? A regional director and district offices in every province to be headed by head agent. Okay, I would stand for corrections. District offices in every province to be headed by a head agent. So sa district offices kada probinsya, asa nang sa bansalan, mantay district office dia sa NBI, no? So kada dia is head agent ang iyang rank, no? Okay, field offices may also be established and maintained by the director as needed arises. The NBI personnel complement shall be increased in their position as upgraded as follows. So, we are not talking about the new salary grade. So, itong una, ang katong ilang head, no, director of the NBI, salary grade lang is 30. Karon, the same pa rin. Then the next is 29, pero ang director 3, murag ni taas gamay, nahimo na sang 28. Then, ang regional director from 26, nahimong 27. Assistant regional director from 25, naging 26. Then, investigation agent, the same, status quo pa rin yun, and the rest are status quo. Okay? So, there was no changes, no? The same pa rin, except for the positions of assistant regional director, and assistant director. Kasi sa assistant director dati is 27, naging 28, no? Then, from regional director, from 26, naging 27. Sa assistant regional director, from 25, naging 26. And the rest, walang nagbago. Okay. The number of administrative support personnel shall be increased to effectively carry out their functions. The NBI personnel occupying the positions affected by the changes as embodied in this Act at the time of its approval shall thereafter occupy and discharge the duties and functions of the new positions and receive the corresponding salary and benefits without the necessity of the new appointment. Now let's go to the powers and functions of the NBI. The number NBI shall the following powers and functions: undertake investigations and detections of crimes and offences enumerated under the Section 5 thereof. Issued sub pena for the appearance of any person for investigations or productions of documents through its from the ranks of regional director to director. Act as a national clearinghouse of criminal records and other related information for the benefit of the government. Render technical assistance to government agencies and instrumentalities when so requested. So like for instance, kung naay mag-request sa ilaha nga sila magunan sa investigation, so they will give assistance on that or as well as yung examinations, no? extend assistance in cases involving extraditions and mutual legal assistance when requested by the Department of Justice. So kanang mga extradition sila po ang wadto dito. Kung karatong na po mga wanting nga nitago sa laing lugar, so sila po ang moadto dito para magngayo og tabang sa Interpol sa ana nga lugar. Establish an NBI Academy which shall be responsible for the recruitment, training, and development of all NBI agents and personnel among others. Establish and maintain a forensic and scientific research center which shall serve as the primary center for forensic and scientific research in furtherance of scientific knowledge in criminal investigation, detections, evidence collections, and preservations, and provide the research training therefore. Take note, ang lahat ng forensic examinations na gagawin ay sa National Office lang ginagawa doon sa NBI kasi meron silang sariling NBI laboratory sa Manila. O the regional offices, so yung mga ballistic doon papadala yan or they will request for the assistance of the PNP Crime Laboratory. Pag sila yung humawak ng kaso, no? Establish and maintain cyber investigations and assessment center which will serve as the nerve center for computer information technologies, data on cyber cases, computer intrusion, threats, and other related crimes or activities. So itong cyber investigation, yung cyber tracking sa mga cyber libel, so dito na yan sa regional offices except for those technical examinations, no? Establish and maintain an integrated, comprehensive, and state-of-the-art network of equipment and facilities to be used by the NBI in its criminal investigation, detections, and evidence gathering, and to provide the corresponding training in these regards. Request the assistance of the Philippine National Police, Armed Forces of the Philippines, or any other agency of the government, including government-owned and or controlled corporation in its anti-crime drive. Such assistance may include the use of agencies' personnel and facilities upon prior approval by the head of the agencies concerned. So ito yung sinasabi natin kanina. So kung madalian, so they will now request for the technical assistance of the PNP Crime Laboratory for the forensic examinations. Now, kung kulang din sila sa tao, they will request for what we call this, yung enforcement from the other government agencies. Conduct intelligence operations in furtherance of the foregoing powers and functions. Enter into any contract or transactions for the acquisition of ownership, positions, administration, lease, disposition of assistance of real or personal properties in its name subject to approval of the Secretary of Justice. So, pwede po sila mo-enter into contact ka ng mga arkila o building o mapalit o magpa-renovate sila. So, ang kailangan lang is an approval from the Secretary of Justice. So, para na po sila pundo. Establish a modern NBI clearance and identification center containing all the regulatory and criminal records and civilian identification records, including their identifying marks and characteristics in fingerprint database, as well as dental records pursuant to Presidential Decree number 1575 entitled requiring practitioners of dentistry to keep records of their patients. Okay, so karon wala man tayo problema no sa NBI clearance kay makuha man dahil atong una mo agi pagsimana. Okay? Maintain for purposes of investigative and forensic requirements of the NBI relevant database such as ballistic records of firearms, including but not limited to data ownerships, positions, and other related identifying circumstances, as well as the deoxyribonucleic acid data bank, and performs as other functions as the President of the Secretary of Justice may assign yung mga tinatawag natin na mga centralized issues, yung mga graft and corrupt practices, involvement of politicians in other illegal activities. So yan, tulad nung nangyari ngayon sa yung what we call on this PhilHealth, no? So the Department of Justice was given assignment to conduct investigation so that the NBI are the leading agencies conducting or tracking the paper trail of the so-called corruptions on the PhilHealth. Now, what is the jurisdiction of the NBI? The NBI shall have the primary jurisdiction to undertake investigation in the following cases: human trafficking cases in all airports in the Philippines, extrajudicial, extralegal killings committed by the state's security forces against media professionals and activities, killings of justice and judges, violation of Republic Act number 10175, otherwise known as the Cybercrime Prevention Act, cases referred by the Interagency Anti-Graft Coordinating Council or the EIGCC. Violations of the anti-dummy law. Ano ito anti-dummy? Sa money laundering ito, yung mga bank account ng mga kiki, no? Cases involving threats to security or assault against the persons of the President, Vice President, Senate President, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Transnational crimes pursuant to existing international agreements, identification of the dead bodies in case of mass fatality, incident caused by natural disasters, and violations of commercial, economic, and financial or white-collar crimes, such as but not limited to those punishable under Republic Act number 8792, otherwise known as E-Commerce Act of 2000, Republic Act number 8484, otherwise known as Access Device Regulation Act of 1998, Republic Act number 8293, otherwise known as Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines, Republic Act number 8799, otherwise known as Security Regulation Code, Presidential Decree number 1689, otherwise known as Decree increasing the penalty of certain forms of estafa, and other similar statutes that may be enacted by Congress. Provided, however, that the President or the Secretary of Justice may direct the NBI to undertake the investigations of any crime when public interest so requires, like yung mga yung tinatawag natin na DDS, no? Yun sila, okay? Once the NBI takes cognizance on any of the aforementioned cases, the PNP and other law enforcement agencies investigative entities shall collaborate with and render assistance to the NBI. Like for instance, ang dating kaso gihawakan sa police, let we say rape or what we call this a certain murder, and then nagbago ang hunahuna sa family of the victims, they seek assistance to the NBI, and then that request to take over the said investigations was given go signal by the Department of Justice. So the NBI should turn over the investigations and they will be act as a collaborate. Collaborate na lang sila sa NBI, muhatag sila informations. In cases where jurisdiction is vested exclusively and or primarily with the PNP or other law enforcement agency, investigating agency, the NBI shall collaborate with and render assistance to the same. So kung mga ugtabang ang PNP sa ilaha, para saan ang kitawag na ito o SITG. Sabi ng SITG, Special Investigation Task Groups. So that is a composed of the Task Force Davao, PNP, that is referring to the CIDG and the NBI. So pag SITG gani appeal na ang NBI diha ug ang Task Force Davao, like for instance kanang kidnapping, kanang murder, no, kanang let me say dakong tao ang gipatay. So yan, tapos wala na identified kung kinsa nga grupo, so mag-form na siya og SITG after the 72 hours, yung tawag na the holy hour of the criminal investigations. Now, the NBI shall be headed by a director assisted by 2 deputy directors, 1 for the administrations and other for operations, and assistant director for each of the following. And they have 7 services: Investigation Service, Intelligence Service, Human Resource Management Service, Controller Service, Forensic and Scientific Research Service, Legal Service, Informations and Communication Technology. Take note, there were 7 services assigned in the Office of the Director. The NBI Director shall be appointed by the President and shall have the rank, salary, and benefits equivalent to that of an Undersecretary. No person shall be appointed Director unless he or she is a natural-born citizen of the Philippines and a member of the Philippine Bar who has engaged in the practice for at least 15 years, preferably within the ranks of Director. The Assistant Regional Directors to Deputy Directors shall likewise be appointed by the President of the Philippines, coming from the ranks of the NBI, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Justice. No person shall be appointed deputy director or regional director. He or she is a citizen of the Philippines and member of the Philippine Bar who has been engaged in the practice of law for at least 10 years of the deputy director for at least 5 years. So para ma-appoint ka as a director, you must be a member of the bar and have a 15 years of experience. Now, for the deputy director, you must have at least 10 years of experience and practice of law. Okay? Then 5 years for the regional directors. Okay? Kung regional director, so kailangan na kay 5 years experience practicing in law. So mga abogado ni sila tanan, no? 15 years director, deputy director, 10 years practicing law, 5 years sa regional director. Okay, so what are the powers and functions of the director? The director shall have the following powers and functions: formulate policies, guidelines, and programs to effectively carry out the purpose of this act, direct, control, and supervise the administration and operation of the NBI, promulgate rules and regulation as may be necessary or proper for the effective exercise of the powers and functions of the NBI, as well as the discharge of the duties and responsibility of its officials and personnel assigned. Determine from time to time, subject to availability of the funds and the approval of the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management, the limit of reasonable allowances, incentive, bonuses, privileges, and other benefits which may be given to the NBI personnel. So that's why there are so many criminologists and other practitioners are dreaming to be part of the NBI because of the what we call this, yung tinatawag natin na napakagandang sweldo, no? So mataas kasi ang sweldo nila dito plus yung allowances pa nila. But mahirap makapasok sa NBI because of the so-called battery of examinations and other requirements to be asked to the applicants, no? So pag nakapasok ka ito, isa ka sa mga pinili ng Panginoon, no? Create or abolish any divisions, unit, and positions therein as may be required by the exigencies of the services, subject to the endorsement of the Secretary of Justice and approval of the DVM. Deploy any of its official or personal missions abroad, including but not limited to assignment and functionaries and attached to the Philippine Embassy, consulate, or any diplomatic office abroad in coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs. So, ay kayo, no? So, ikaw mapilian. Bato ka dito sa laing nasod, especially we undergo training on forensic science, and then ipadala ka dito sa FBI, or you will be assigned in the Department of Foreign Affairs in a particular country. Basta ngaya-haya nimo, no? Your work is only to conduct investigation on the alleged violations of the Department of Labor. Okay? So, yun, no? Provided that any expense incurred and be a representative in the establishment of his or her office, including operation and maintenance, is shouldered by the NBI. Basta ngayaya. Walay gasto bisag 5 centavos ang personnel, no? Napasay allowance. Iyahay pa kaisa, nasa sa abroad. Hire consultants subject to pertinent laws and rules as may be deemed required by the exigencies of the services. Issue mission orders and permit to carry duly licensed firearms outside residence to its agents, organic personnel assisting in the investigations, and other duly deputized personnel of the Department of Justice assisting the NBI in their investigative. Unsa man ni? Namang gutay ginatawag itong mga special agent, civilian manguna sila, no? Except atong naagit sa organic position. Okay, designate NBI informal for investigative purposes. So pag ang ba na ni ang ginay mong asset mulabaw pa sa NBI batasan, no? Remove, suspend, or otherwise discipline NBI agents and personnel for cause in accordance with the civil service rules and regulations in other pertinent laws. Determine and impose administrative fees. Perform any and all acts necessary, proper, or incidental to the attainment of the purposes or objective of this act. Balikan natin yung determine and impose administrative fees. Katuning mga bayad sa NBI clearances sa kana. Muna na tayo bayad, no? Now, perform such other functions as may be provided by law or authorized by the Secretary of Justice. Okay, now let's go to the last coverage for the third exams. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or the PDEA. Organization of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. By the virtue of the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, or Republic Act RA 9165, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency was created for the efficient and effective law enforcement of all provisions of dangerous drugs and or precursors and essential chemicals as provided in RA number 9165. Take note. So, katong natukod ang PDEA, kay bago pa man sila, so wala pa sila recruitment. So, ang unang mga membro sa PDEA, katong mga dating membro sa PNP Anti-Narcotics Command, no? So, katong mga pulis, no, gibalhin lang sa PDEA, they are transferred to the PDEA temporarily. So, para mahimo silang personnel, which is their responsibility is to track down and to file a case against violations of RA 9165. Take note, ang unang mga membro or personnel sa PDEA, sa diyang gitukod na ni siya by the virtue of Section 82 of the Republic Act 9165, katong mga membro enlisted personnel sa PNP. Okay? Let's continue. Whereas pursuant to Republic Act number 9165, the Dangerous Drug Board is the policy making and strategy formulating body. Now take note, the DDB is the policy making and strategy of formulating body, while the PDEA is the implementing agency. Take note, DDB is a policy making body. Ang PDEA is a law enforcement body. Okay? Sabtan ninyo, dili sila naghahimog balaod, dili sila naghahimog policy, kundi ang PDEA. Okay. Formulation of policy and programs on drug prevention and control creations of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. To carry out the provisions of the Act, the PDEA, which serves as the implementing arm of the board, shall be responsible for the efficient and effective law enforcement of all provisions on any dangerous drugs and controlled precursors. So, sabi ng controlled precursors, katuning mga chemicals, pasa ng acetone, muriatic acid, no, ephedrine, mga controlled precursor man na siya, and essential chemicals as provided in this Act. The PDEA shall be headed by a Director General with the rank of Undersecretary, who shall be responsible for the general administrations and management of the agency. The Director General of the PDEA shall be appointed by the President of the Philippines and shall perform such other duties that may be assigned to him or her. He or she must possess adequate knowledge, training, and experience in the field of dangerous drugs and any of the following fields: law enforcement, law, medicine, criminology, psychology, or social work. The Director General of the PDEA shall be assisted in the performance of his or her duties and responsible by two Deputy Director Generals with the rank of Assistant Secretary, one for the operations and other for the administration. Take note, the equivalent positions of the Director General of the PNP is equivalent to Deputy Secretary, no? So he is the Under Secretary. Okay. The two deputy directors shall likewise be appointed by the President of the Philippines upon the recommendations of the board. Now, the two deputy directors shall be also appointed by the director, but based on the recommendations made by the board. Ang mag-recommend para ma-appoint sa deputy director katong board, no? Ang DDB ang mag-recommend dito sa Office of the President nga mahimong deputy director, no, sa Director General sa PDEA. Let's go to the organization of the PDEA under Section 82. Take note, the PDEA was created by the virtue of Section 82 of Republic Act 9165. The present Secretariat of National Drug Law Enforcement and Prevention Coordinating Center, or the INDELEC, no, INDELEC na siya, no, as created by Order number 61 shall be accordingly modified and absorbed by the PDEA. So katong mga personnel o katong Secretariat Office sa National Drug Law Enforcement and Prevention Coordinating Center, gitukod siya by the virtue of Section 61, but when the Republic Act 1675 was created, so ang gi-absorb na natanan siya sa PDEA. Now, the Director General of the PDEA shall be responsible for the necessary changes in the organizational setup, which shall be submitted to the board for approval. for purposes of carrying out its duties and powers as provided for in the succeeding section of the implementing rules and regulations. The PDEA shall have the following services, namely, intelligence and investigation, international cooperation and foreign affairs, preventive education and community involvement, plans and operations, compliance, legal and prosecutions, administrative and human resources, financial management, logistic management, and internal affairs. So na po sila paralegal office, no, para mag-investigate sa violations which is possibly perpetrated by their personnel. The PDEAs are established and maintain regional offices in the different regions of the country, which shall be responsible for the implementation of the Act and the policies, programs, and projects of said agency and the respective regions. So what are the powers and duties of the PDEA? The PDEA shall implement or cause the efficient and effective implementations of the National Drug Control Strategy formulated by the Board, thereby carrying out a national anti-drug campaign program which shall include drug law enforcement, control and prevention campaign with the assistance of concerned government agencies. So kinsa man yung concerned agencies, NBI and the PNP. Undertake the enforcement of the provisions of Article 2 of the Act relative to the unlawful acts and penalties involving any dangerous drug or in controlled precursors and essential chemicals and investigate all violators and other matters involved in the commissions of any crime relative to the use, abuse, or trafficking of any dangerous drugs and or controlled precursors and essential chemicals as provided for in the Act and the provision of Presidential Decree number 1619. Unsa man yung Presidential Decree 1619, that is Anti-Volatile Substance Act. Ito yung mga rugby, acetone, no, mana siya. Mana yung common violation sa mga children's in conflict with the law kana nagasuyop og rugby. Okay, so pintura kana volatile mana under na sa Presidential Decree number 1619. Again, Presidential Decree number 1619, otherwise known as Anti-Volatile Substance Act. Okay, sa sample ani rugby, acetone, okay, Bulcasil, yan. Wala siya. Administer oath, issues subpoena justice decom relative to the conduct of investigation involving the violation of the Act, arrest and apprehend as well as search all violators and seize or confiscate the effects or proceeds of the crimes as provided by law and take custody thereof for this purpose, and prosecutors and enforcement agents are authorized to possess firearms according to the existing law. Okay, take charge and have custody of all dangerous drugs and or controlled precursors and essential chemicals seized, confiscated, or surrendered to any national, provincial, or local law enforcement agency if no longer needed for the purposes of evidence in court. So katong mga gi-confiscate na mga drugs in which naka-examine na suppose nagsample ang korte para ebidensya, so katong mga sobra sila ang mag-take custody ana, no? Then tapos, napo na sila order nga when they said drugs under their custody shall be properly disposed. So ang korte ang magsugo sila kung kanong sa i-dispose o kung saan pag-dispose with the presence of the media and other community sector. Establish forensic laboratories in each PNP office in every province and city in order to facilitate action and seize on confiscated drugs, thereby hastening the destruction of the same without delay. So sa regional offices ng operation sa PDEA, ang tanang forensic chemical examination sa substance or drugs pagabuhaton sa PNP Crime Laboratory. But for the national level, so kung dito sa Manila mismo, so dito ra sa ilahang PDEA Crime Laboratory. So pwede rin po sa National PNP Crime Laboratory. So depende na kung asa nila ipadala. Okay. Recommend to the DAJ the forfeiture of properties and other assets of persons and or corporations found to be violating the provision of the Act in accordance with the pertinent provisions of the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001. Take note, ang PDEA is under the umbrella of the Dangerous Drug Board, while ang Dangerous Drug Board is under the Office of the President. Okay? PDEA is under the umbrella of the Dangerous Drug Board. While the Dangerous Drug Board is directly under to the Office of the President. Muna yung mabuta ito, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, Office of the President, Dangerous Drug Board, di ba? So, yan. Prepare for prosecutions or cause the filing of appropriate criminals in civil cases for violations of all laws on dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals and other similar controlled substances, and assist, support, and coordinate with the government agencies for the proper effective prosecution of the same. Take note. So, pasalan sa probinsya, province. So, every provinces, there must be one representative assigned on that particular places because under the law, walay laing agency nga mag-conduct og drug operation kundili ang PDEA lang yun o ang mag-file sa kaso. Nga tungod sa kagamay sa manpower sa atong PDEA, so nangayos lang tabang sa other law enforcement agency. That's why, in every operations of the PNP, ma-appeal ginang pangalan sa PDEA agent kanang na-assign ana nga lugar sa probinsya. Kay na may balaog nga nag-ingon na only the PDEA can track down and file an appropriate case against in violation of the RA 9165. Kaya sabtan ninyo na sa inyong probinsya, mati. So na PDEA agent nga na-assign, representative na siya. So ang tanang operasyon gibuhat niya sa PNP sa mati, ma-appeal ginang pangalan sa PDEA representative bisag wala na siya nakauban sa operasyon. Kay para lang dili ma-dismiss ang kaso by means of technicalities. Eh kung wala manggod ang PDEA, so technicalities na siya. So pwede ma-dismiss ang kaso. Eh walay PDEA agent because under the law, only the PDEA. Okay, nasabtan nyo. Monitor and if warranted by circumstances in coordination with the Philippine Postal Office and the Bureau of Customs, inspect all air cargo packages. So, katong mga pangagipadala, so napoy gitagaan po nila o authority ang Philippine Postal o ang Bureau of Customs nga mag-inspection itong mga cargo, itong mga gipampadala, no? Nga basig, mana nga napoy Bureau of Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit, mana siya. And emails in the Central Post Offices which appear from the package of the address itself to be a possible importation of dangerous drugs and or controlled precursors and essential chemicals. So kung mga tanong po sir, pasan ng mga LBC sir. So ang tanang mga private courier, so wala ginabawalan na sila nga magpadal mag transport og kanang mga perfume, chemicals o ginabawalan na sila kanang mga jam, so bawal na sila. Pero kung ang imong ipadala tibok durian na mangustin, na pwede na siya, no? Pero katong gi-process na gisulod na og kanang botilya, so stricto ang LBC ana or GRS or GNT, no? Kay naay kuandya natay ginatawag nato og balaod ana, no? Okay, conduct eradication programs to destroy wild or illegal growth of plants. I mean wild or illegal growth of plants. So para masabtan nato natay mga organic na plants which can be converted as drugs. Unsa man ni siya? Katong pitcher plant. Yan. Katong what we call this kanang hanging plant mura bitog ikog sa iring nung kana siya. Then marijuana mani kiting ginisag nila wild or illegal growth of plants apil din ang pitcher. Actually ang ilang gibuhatan karon they are trying to make a certain memorandum order na i-appeal nila ang katsubong, no? Kay ginagamit biyaning katsubong as a drugs. Kay from which dangerous drugs may be extracted. Initiate and undertake the formation of nationwide organization which shall coordinate and supervise all activities against drugs. So ito yung sabi natin kanina. In every province, city, or municipality, and barangay with active and direct participations of all such local government units and non-government organizations including the citizenry, subject to the provision of previously formulated programs of action against dangerous drugs. So muna nga, malipay kayo na sila kung na mga kasana sa eskwela na gitukon nga junior drug buster. So because the member of the junior drug busters can also be used as their private eye for the purpose of prevention and control of proliferations of any types of drugs in the community or as well as in the society. Okay. Establish and maintain national drug intelligence systems in cooperation with law enforcement agencies, katulad ng mga NBI, Custom, no, so on and so forth. Other government agencies, offices, and local government units that will assist in the apprehension of big-time drug lords. Establish and maintain close coordination, cooperation, and linkages with international drug control and administration agencies and organizations, and implement the applicable provisions of international conventions and agreements related to dangerous drugs to which the Philippines is one of the signatory. Create and maintain an efficient special enforcement unit to conduct investigation, file charges, and transmit evidence to the proper court, wherein members of the said unit shall possess suitable and adequate firearms for their protections and connections with the performance of their duties, provided that no previous special permit for such possession shall be required. Require all government and private hospitals, clinics, doctors, dentists, and other practitioners to submit a report to it in coordination with the board about all dangerous drugs and or controlled precursors and essential chemicals which they have attended to for data information processing. So, katong mga doktor or ospital nga nagagamit og mga chemicals pasalang anesthesia. So kinahanglan ila ng tagaan nila og report or inventory report ang PDEA para ma-monitor pod, no? That's only for the purpose lang. Coordinate with the board for the facilitation of the issuance of necessary guidelines, rules, and regulations for the proper implementation of that. By the way, ang gina-report na board is ang Dangerous Drug Board, ha? Initiate and undertake a national campaign for drug abuse prevention and drug control programs, where it may enlist the assistance of any department, bureau, office, agency, or stimulate the government, including government-owned and controlled corporations, in the anti-illegal drugs drive, which may include the use of the respective personnel, facilities, and resources for a more resolute detection and investigation of drug-related crimes, as well as the prosecutions of the drug traffickers, and submit an annual and periodic reports to the board as may be required from time to time, and performs as other functions as may be authorized or required under the existing laws as directed by the President himself or herself, or as recommended by the Congressional Committee concerned. Now, let's go to the PDEA Academy. Supposed to be under the law, in every region there must be a PDEA Academy, but because of the budget constraint, so until now wala pa tayong regional PDEA training schools or academies. Sa one pa lang yun, no? Sa National Capital Region pa lang yun. So maybe 3 years or 4 years from now, basing na yung mga regional offices, and hopefully na sa Region 11 o Region 9 ang mauna, no? Murag maugin na siya. Upon the approval of the board, the PDEA Academy shall be established either in Baguio or Tagaytay City, and in such other places or may be necessary. The PDEA Academy shall be provide responsible in the recruitment and training of all PDEA agents and personnel. Murag na sa Tagaytay ata ang PDEA Academy, no? I don't know kung nasa Tagaytay ba. O nasa Silang Cavite. Murag dito ata tanan kay dako kay itong yuta sa gobyerno dito, no? The board shall for the qualification requirements of its recruits who must be at least 21 years old, of proven integrity and honesty, and a baccalaureate degree holder. Now, with regards to the sa edad sa PDEA, 21 years old and above, but not more than 35 years of age. Itong una, 40, karon 35 na lang, no? And then, baccalaureate degree, and then must be eligible. Bisag unsa nga eligibility ang nasa mga, pwede sa ilaha. Now, if we talk about the salary, murag naay gamayng diferensya sa PNP, no? Pero mas dako ni sila allowance, no? Dako ni sila hazard. The graduates of the academy shall later comprise the operating units of the PDEA after the termination of the transition period for 5 years. So, mo ni siya katong pagsugod nila na sila transition period na 5 years na ang ilang mga tao, mga organic personnel pa sa PNP. Pag-abot og 5 years, so kinala maginahinay na sila og recruit, no? Kinala na sila recruit para PDEA agent na gyud. Okay. During which all the intelligence technical standard operating procedure of the PDEA has been set up and operationalized. The academy shall be headed by a superintendent with the rank of director. He or she shall be appointed by the PDEA director. Yeah, so, ang head sa PDEA Academy shall be headed by a superintendent and with a rank of director. And then the one will be appointed to become the superintendent of the training academy of the PDEA is no other than the PDEA Director General. The Drug Enforcement Agency is headed by Director General with the cabinet rank of Undersecretary. Take note. Okay? So, the PDEA shall be headed by Director General. Mo nang iyahang title positions. Pero ang ranggo sa head sa DEA is have an equivalent rank of Undersecretary. Again, ang head sa PDEA, ang iyahang position title is Director General. Ang iyang ranggo is cabinet rank of Undersecretary, who is responsible for the general administration and management of the agency. The General Director is assisted by 2 Deputy Director General with the rank of Assistant Secretary. So, ang iyang ka deputy na title designations of Deputy Director General with a rank of Assistant Secretary. Okay, the same with the PNP, Operation and Administration. The Office of the Director General is also supported by the Secretary for Directoral Staff, Chief of Public Information Office, Chief of Information Technology System Management Office, and Chief of Chemical Audit and Management Unit. The Director General of the PDEA shall be responsible for the necessary changes in the organizational setup, which shall be submitted to the Office of the Dangerous Drug Board for the purpose of approval. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is a line agency under the Department of Justice and serves as the premier investigative agency of the government. Take note, the PDEA is a line agency of the Department of Justice and he is under directly to the Office of the Dangerous Drug Board. The agency director is a presidential appointee and serves under the trust and confidence of the President as well as the Secretary of Justice. Mura po sila sa NBI, no? Now, let's go to the rank structure of the following of the PDEA. Listed the new rank structures under the 2019. Under Secretary, kinsa man niya ang ato ang Director General, Assistant Secretary, Assistant Director, Regional Director, Assistant Regional Director Head, Agent Supervising, Agent Senior, Agent Investigation, Agent 3. The following in a listing of the old rank: Director 6, Director 5, Director 3, Director 2, Director 1, Investigation Agent 6, Investigation 5, 4, 3, and 2. Ang pinakagamay is Investigation Agent 2. Investigation Agent 1 per day. Then they have also Special Investigator 5, non-lawyer or CPA. Special Investigator 4, non-lawyer or CPA. Special Investigator 3, non-lawyer or CPA. The Director General of the PDEA shall be appointed by the President of the Philippines, shall perform such other duties that may be assigned to him or to her, and he must possess adequate knowledge, training, experience in the field of dangerous drugs. Sige, balik na yung manatani.